Today we have a Technics SL 1300 on the bench to evaluate. I have no idea what operating condition this is in. This dust cover is just in horrible shape. Kind of crunchy hinges. Huh. So you can see scratches all over. Get this out of the way. Take a look at the operating or the functional mechanical condition of the turntable. Alright, so tone arm elevator works. Looks like it has an Audio Technica 1895 on it. Switches work. Let's see. Oh, so the arm does not stay elevated when you lift the tone arm. That's interesting. Today's test record for this turntable, Spirit of 67, Paul Revere and the Raiders. I just want to see what's going on in terms of the tone arm moving over, and I want to check out the speed. So I'm going to kill the light over here and see if I can tell what's going on with the speed. So start. Tone arm moves into its position. It's playing. Wow, another one with tracking weight just out of control. So one reason why the tracking or why the tone arm is dropping instantly is because this tracking weight is all messed up and the weight is actually on backwards. So let me get this. Gosh, you know, I've had two of these now in the last couple of weeks, and that's something I should probably start checking for, because well, these speed pots are dirty, that's for sure, because they're not holding constant speed, and this one's adjusted all the way down. That's much better. Go to 45. Yeah, this 45 pot is adjusting it, but it's pretty inconsistent, so. All right, so that's good. Now, because I think this turntable maybe isn't getting sound on one of the channels, so I need to connect this to my receiver here. And see if we get sound out of both channels or what the deal is. I picked up several different turntables, and I didn't take any notes when I grabbed them from the shop. So I don't know what the status of this one is. So, all right, so we should hear we get some sound. Doesn't really matter if it's 33 or 45. All right, we have no sound out of the left channel. So this may be getting some new cables. Make sure this goes back. And there we go. Okay, on to opening this thing up and seeing what's going on. First, I'm going to remove this pad. Interesting. This pad, the platter mat, the platter itself. Someday I'll have to show you all my setup here and how much crap I have waiting for me on my shelves to go through. This is disgusting. It's got some kind of hair all over it. Gross. Gross, gross, gross. I'm not doing the cosmetic thing yet, but get rid of those. Vacuum off my bench. Jeez. Lost my microphone. Alright, remove the head shell. Set that to the side. There is just, I don't know if you can see it, there's just gunk all in there right now. I'm gonna try to get rid of that before I flip it over and get it all over my bench. Yeah. Just more of that hair and other garbage in there. So this is my Turntable Lazy Susan. I don't know if I pointed this out in another video or not, but I buy these Lazy Susans from like from a hardware store, screw a couple of 2x4s in it. The ones I use for receivers and sometimes for turntables are the 2x4s are laid flat. If it's a bigger turntable like this, then I turn the 2x4s sideways. This makes it easy for me to rotate it and kind of set it up here without it getting into any it's like sensitive part of the turntable. So, you know, tone arm safe, it's in a good position. All right, so now on to taking the bottom off of this. I don't know if they could have used more screws on the bottom of that or not. Man, that's pretty secure in there. Okay, bottom is off. Let's see what we have here. Speed control pots. Hit those with some deoxit. Where is my... I'll just use my contact cleaner. I moved my fader lube somewhere, but this will work. So we'll look at this speed control issue first. Kind of looking at the bottom of this board. That doesn't look too bad. All right, then we'll hit this one. Clean that one pretty good. Just looking at the bottom of this to see, looks like those are the variable resistors probably for 33 and 45. So if we have to adjust these after cleaning them, we can come up through the bottom of the plinth, right, the bottom of the base, and it probably has two openings. Nope, I don't see any. I don't see two openings. Sometimes, like if those are adjustable, you'll see some openings on the bottom, but I do not see openings there. Yeah, I don't see any openings there. Well, we'll see how far that gets us. One thing I've noticed is that, I mean, no two turntables are even remotely alike. Not even close. So first I'm going to just check out our speed issue after cleaning those potentiometers. So I'm going to throw the platter back on here and see if our speed normalizes over on this side. So you want to pay attention over here. Plug it in. So it's set for 33, and it didn't like that I hit the start button. Well, I guess I'm going to have to do this the difficult way. Problem is this tone arm elevator won't stay up. So I'll have to hold on to that while I move this out here somewhere and see what's going on with the speed. So it looks like 33 is locked into position. See if I can maybe get you to see that a little bit better. Doesn't look like it. You can probably see that bottom strip is stationary now. Go to 45, which is the one above it. That one is stationary as well. So it looks like we got the speed dialed in just by cleaning those two pots. And those are about in the middle position because after I had turned them, they were turned all the way to the right or left. So have this stop, go through that cycle. And we'll pop it back over, and I want to figure out what's going on with this, with that tone arm elevator, why it's not staying in the up position. Then we'll look at sound. And we'll do our basic service too. Okay, so this is not going to be you're not going to be able to see this. I don't know how to get that in a position where you can see what's going on, where I can even see what's going on. What I'm doing is I'm flipping this lever, the elevator to see if I can see anything going on underneath there to give me a hint as to why it is dropping it straight down and I don't. Oh, okay, I see. So there's a spring. So there's a spring underneath the shaft that the tone arm elevator rests in that's pushing that down. So maybe that's by design. I don't know. I have to, I'm gonna have to do some research because I've never owned one of these and I don't recall working on an SL 1300 before. So I'm not sure if that's the way that's supposed to be or not. So we're going to leave that for now. We'll come back to it. What I want to do right now is kind of the basic service in terms of cleaning the platter spindle. Seems it's not horrible. It could be a little bit looser. Probably gonna have to go up through the bottom is what I'm thinking on this one. So let's pop this cover off and see what that gives us. And I do actually use service manuals. When I'm servicing these, I know I haven't used one for a couple of these videos. So that's a little retention clip, it looks like. Let's see what happens. See if we can move that. Yep, that's pretty easy. Looks like somebody's put some oil or something in here before. And there goes the shaft for the platter. So there's the little groove where that clip goes around that little groove there. This is pretty, at least it's not grease, it's just kind of oil all over. So get some cotton swabs and we'll start cleaning. So I went out to Vinyl Engine and looked at the service manual, the owner's manual, and that motor shaft, this is actually supposed to be oiled. So I think since this is going to be kind of a goofy way to position this, I'm going to put the oil towards the top of this shaft. Again, I'm using real butter, synthetic, and it's got a decent viscosity. So move that up underneath. Put this gear into position. There's a little tiny groove cut out on the top of this, so it won't slide into position until you get that little groove lined up. And then just pop that back on and we're good. Oops, it's really tight. There we go. Much better. Much better. And that's just going to send it through its return cycle again. Hopefully I don't have to realign something there. Wouldn't be the first time. Wouldn't be the first time I did it on this channel in one of these videos where something was not aligned right and I had to go in and fix something. Still July. Today is going to be 100 degrees. So turn my fan on so I'm not completely dying in this garage. Okay, so that's in position. Okay, so now on to determining what is going on with the lack of sound on that channel. So it looks like I have to remove this cover, heat up my soldering iron, I doubt it's going to be something as simple as a broken wire here that we can just resolder into position, but you never know. And it looks as though that's not the case. Hopefully it is an issue with the wire, with the tone arm wire. So I'm going to see if I have continuity between the wire, oops, the wire here. Put that on red. Okay, so that's red to red, positive, right? That's the red wire. And then green. So red is the positive for the right channel, green is the negative for the right channel. So I have connectivity there. White is positive for the left channel, and I have no connectivity. And blue is negative. So I have no connectivity on the white, the positive for the left channel. Right? And it's from here, because I'm going to assume that these tone arm wires are still intact on the way to the head shell, you know, until I have to go in and confirm that otherwise. Now, the way I did this was I took my multimeter, and I've got a couple of different ones. I put it to measure resistance, right? And on this one, you have to go to a different mode where it has like a little tiny speaker kind of symbol there, and that will beep, right, if there's continuity from point A to point B. So that's what I did there. Now I need to see if I have some cables that I can repurpose and put in position there. So I have tons of cables. varying lengths and quality and thickness, and you know, on this one I don't know if I want to use like a thick cable like this. The problem with these, if they're too thick, they're too difficult to actually use right with the table. And I also don't want to put some on here that are too short. I've had turntables come my way with cables that are way short. And sometimes these ends are actually too fat, especially if you have an older piece of like tube equipment or an older solid state. Sometimes the RCA connectors can actually be too wide. So I'm going to use this thinner cable. And it's like a super long cable. You know, I don't want to sacrifice this one though. So maybe I will opt for that one. That's still, I don't know. I know this is not riveting to see me figure out which kind of cable I want to use, but I just don't know if that monoprice cable is going to be long enough by the time I cut everything. It's about a foot shorter than the Technics stock cable. Okay, I'm going to sacrifice the skinny one. Let's see if this one is one that we can work with. Problem is sometimes these really thin ones are more difficult to work with. Cut that. And let's look to see what we have. So I'll split the two ends of this cable like so. And using my very expensive wire cutter, I'll remove this outer cladding because I just want to see what I'm working with before I start removing the old cable. See if this is one that I can use. Oh, okay, so we have two distinct wires there, so that is a good sign. And hopefully we have two here as well. And oh, you know what? I cut those off. So my high-tech wire cutting tool went a little too deep. And I'm going to take off about maybe a little bit more than an inch here and just barely score that. I did it right the first time, but not the second time. Give it a little twist. Pop it off. Same with this side. Can cut it shallow. I do have a wire stripper. I have used them. I've never found them to work very well. I probably just have cheap ones, or have used cheap ones in the past. This is just how I am used to doing it. One little tiny piece of rubber right there. There we go. So that looks promising. That actually looks really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my desoldering tool and I'm going to remove the solder. So this is the white wire, this is the blue wire, this is the green wire, this is the red wire. So I'm going to put these back into position like so. Okay, so I'm going to desolder, remove these old ones, pop these in position. I'll have to take a little bit off of the ends here, pop those back into position, and see where we're at. So in this part of the video, I'm going to speed up. You don't need to see me soldering and doing all that stuff. at least in real time. Okay, so those have been unsoldered, and I'm going to separate. I'm going to keep the ground wire, so I'm just going to peel it off of the original cable and throw that to the side for now. And you probably noticed I wrote down what I was doing, because even though I'm shooting video and even though I do have a decent memory, you never know. You don't want to forget kind of what you were doing. These are nowhere near the quality of the Technics cables, but these are going to work just fine. If this were a restoration, if someone said, hey, I want this to be just like it was when it was original, then, maybe find some Technics cables or use some higher end cables. And this is a great turntable, don't get me wrong, but it's not, like I have a Marantz 6300, I have some Denons that are super nice turntables. In fact, I prefer Denons. So I'm just peeling off enough of these wires to put them back into the right position. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of feed these where they go in here. I'm going to reattach these tone arm wires, put them back into their original location, and I'll speed that part up since I'll be soldering and making noise and all that stuff. Good. I'm going to fit these back into this, and assuming everything checks out, I will kind of secure these a little bit better in terms of kind of sitting together. That makes sense. So, because there's really nothing holding these in right now. There's nothing clamping those into position. So I want to make sure that I do something to secure those. There should be, see that when I put that back on, that's not going to be enough to secure that. So we'll have to come up with something to make sure that doesn't flop around. But before I do that, I want to verify that we have sound in both channels. So I'm just connecting this. There goes my mic. Getting this set back up. Put the platter on, the mat. Get that out of my way. Put on some Paul Revere and the Raiders. Again, test record. As long as it makes noise, I'm happy with whoever or whatever it is. Ooh. I got a little bit of, I have to clean up my solder work underneath. A little bit of static on one of the channels. Okay. All right, so I'm getting good sound, both channels. Not clean sound out of the left channel, but I am getting sound out of the left channel now. So let's see what we got going on underneath and fix that. From there. So I'm still getting a little bit of noise on that left channel. So I want to confirm that there's nothing going on with the head shell. It looks clean. That's dirty. Sometimes if these aren't making good contact in here, it'll do that as well. So hopefully, nope, I'm still getting feedback in that, little bit of noise in that left channel. I think I have some wires running too close to some other stuff over here, so. Oh, I still got sound. Well, shoot. Maybe I need to use some different cables because there's a lot of noise with those cables. So back to the drawing board. Alright, so I got the new kind of beefier tone arm, those are RCA wires in there, RCA jacks in there, plugs, whatever. And now at least they're clipped into position so they won't move. I'm going to mount this. we're kind of locked in position now. Hopefully I got rid of that noise. We'll fire it up here in a second and find out. Okay, I have noise, but I think that's the normal kind of turntable hum because I don't have it grounded to anything. So let's flip this over and hook it up and see what's going on. Okay. Platter back on. Mat back on. Disc on. Power. No noise. So that's good. Power to the turntable would be nice though. Speed looks okay. I know you can't see it in the video, but speed looks okay. See if I get some sound. Clear sound out of both channels. Sounds like I might have a little bit more out of the right than left channel though. Oh, no, it's all right. Okay, so I'm going to call this good for now. Make sure it shuts itself off. I'm still curious about this. I'm not sure about that. I'm gonna have to look that up. But what I'm gonna do is, barring anything that I find, I mean that doesn't seem right to me, but yeah, I'll have to look up what's going on with that. So what I'm gonna do right now though is I am going to kind of do a cleanup. And it's not that I'm anticipating I won't have to go back in, because I most likely will, but I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, or I'm going to research whether or not that's normal behavior. So anyway, I'll be back. So I did a little bit of research, went to kind of all the normal spots on the internet, Hi-Fi Engine, Audio Karma, and I did find some posts about this issue. And what I have found is that there is, on this internal mechanism, there's a little tiny O-ring that will crack or dry out, and that O-ring, there's basically some kind of mechanical issue with the O-ring, and the repair is pretty invasive, pretty intensive, and it, you know, I guess you can argue that that affects the functionality of the turntable, but if you're using this as an automatic turntable, it's really not much of an issue. So, you know, again, and if I do that repair, the repair expense is quite a bit higher. So after referring, or conferring, I should say, with the shop owner, actually, no, I didn't talk to him on this one. I talked to him about another one. But this is one where, you know, it's just not going to be worth the expense, because you know, you're talking another hour or two of getting in here and messing around with that. And you know, if the shop wants to sell this and make some money, then you know, it's difficult to restore these things. To be completely honest with you, it's just difficult to restore them. So I'm going to make sure that this one is functioning properly as a fully automatic turntable. At least the elevator does work. It just doesn't maintain that upright position. So let me just, I want to check. Yeah, that's way off. Oh, that's because I moved it. So this is an Audio-Technica VM95E. I think I normally set these around 1.5. 2.57, that's way off. That should be a little bit closer to 1.5. Yep, 1.58, 1.6. Back it up just a little bit, call it good. Set the anti-skate to 1.5. Lock the tone arm in position. Kind of remove a little of this, the lint from my cleaning wipe. So I think I'm gonna call this one good for now. Yeah, this repairing that it just isn't in the cards for this particular turntable. So now it's on to the dust cover. Actually, before going on to the dust cover, I need to finish putting the bottom of this on. Get these wires Velcroed. And out of my way. So one thing I did want to mention, I don't know if I pointed at these when I was cleaning it. These are the adjustment pots for 33 and 45. So ideally these pitch controls, you want to have them in the center, right, of their range of motion. So you can center these and then use these adjustments to kind of dial it into the middle. This was close. I mean, I could just tell as I was adjusting it that it was pretty close. So I wouldn't go in and do anything with that because I think that's okay. All right, on to the dust cover. Not much to say about this cover. You can see without me even tilting it, kind of the bad condition it's in. I haven't cleaned it yet, but kind of hit it with some glass cleaner. Looks like it removed some gunk, maybe. I don't know. That's, yeah, it's a little bit clearer than it was, I suppose. It's not. Let's try and hit the inside. Yeah, now that the Windex is dried, you can really see those scratches. So this one will be, it'll be cool to see if just buffing this will, how clean it will get it. I don't plan on sanding this down and doing like a dust cover restoration on it, because, you know, again, this isn't a super high dollar turntable. It's a great turntable. It's just not, you know, probably a candidate for that. So on to, away from the glare, on to polishing the dust cover. Well, a couple of things. Number one, I used the fine scratch remover before I used the heavy scratch remover, which that was not good. But what that kind of showed me was that these scratches are in here pretty good. So again, I'm not going to go crazy on this, but I will kind of wet sand it just to show you what I do. And again, I am not trying to make this perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So what I'm going to do is I have some 3000 and some 5000 grit sandpaper. I'm going to wet sand it. I'm going to go across, you know, one or two passes, and then up one or two passes with each grit, and I'm just trying to dull these. That's all I'm doing, right? I'm not going to sand off enough to actually remove these, but I just want to dull them. I want to knock them down a little bit and see what that does. So marginally better, you know, to get some of these deeper scratches out, and you can see them in here, right? I mean, it's better than it was, but it's not, again, it's not perfect, but the deep scratches in here, you know, I'd have to go down to a 600 grit sandpaper, and, you know, even then, depending upon how deep they are, you know, you have to remove plastic, right? You have to remove basically a layer of plastic to really get those down there. So, you know, at that point, if I were purchasing this turntable, I would probably just consider buying a new dust cover, because that would probably, you know, time-wise or money-wise, it free up quite a bit of time. You could probably get one for $100-ish, somewhere around there. So I think we can call this one done for now. Put this dust cover back on and kind of show you what it looks like now. Oh, I do need to clean off some of the polisher residue off of this. So again, it is better. The cover is better. You know, and again, this is under I have some pretty harsh, lighting on my bench here. So if I were to kind of kill these lights and go to more of a room light, it's going to flash here for a second. Kind of show you what this would look like right under natural light in a shop. I mean, that's a pretty clean dust cover, considering its age. So I think we can call this one done as well. So if you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, and I will see you next time.